We've all heard the cliches: make every day an adventure, live every day like it's your last, and friends are forever. But to me, these became more than cliches. During high school, I had an amazing group of friends that did make every day an adventure. And for better or worse, we did live every day like it was our last. And especially for one friend, all these statements ring true. When during our senior year of high school, he passed away. His impact can be felt 25 years later in the men and women that my friends have become, and have really proved that friends are forever. I've always wanted to try and tell his story, but also the story of the incredible people that surrounded him and why, to me, they are all remarkable. This is Marc's story.
I'm ready whenever you want to go. I'm Adam Longmore. I'm married, have 3 beautiful children. Lived in Missouri for a while, in North Dakota for a while, and Cedar City, Utah for a while. So just excited to be back in the great state of Utah.
My name is Jeremy Racine, 43. I have a wife and 3 young boys. Yeah, we live out in Lake Point, Twilla, Utah.
My name's Glen Lapray. I moved to Murray when I was in high school. I've since been married, I guess 15 years coming up. I have 2 daughters, a wife named Jamie, and yeah, life's good.
Been married now for about 13 years, and we have 3 kids. We are currently living in Las Vegas, Nevada. Work relocated me there. I got a job with Southwest Airlines.
My name is Scott Hall. I've been married to my wife, Megan, since 2002. We have 7 kids, 4 boys, 3 girls. Lived in South Jordan the last couple years, and just basically, give or take, the general Murray, Salt Lake County area my whole life.
Richard and Colleen Simons, and we've been married 51 years. We had 3 children. Darren is the oldest, Cindy second, and Marc was third. 3.5 years between each one. We had a very busy household. For Marc especially and his friends, because he liked to be home. And wherever Marc was, that's where everybody wanted to be. Our house was filled with kids and we loved it.
Murray is right in the heart of Salt Lake County, a small town where everyone kind of knows each other and they go back there a lot, even if they don't live there. Most of our friends were members of Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, sometimes referred to as Mormons or LDS. It was a religious aspect, a religious undertone. It was part of who we are and who we still are.
I think the nice thing about the group of people that we had is we all had our kind of different things that we liked.
We did a lot of 4-wheeling, a lot of shooting guns, riding motorcycles, that kind of stuff. We skied a lot. We were always like building, putting stereos in our cars and tinkering on things.
But the nice thing was we all got along. We just loved each other. We just wanted to spend time with each other.
We could not have asked for better people.
Exactly. I mean, the friends that he had, they were polite and and it was fun having them here.
I definitely had a real fascination with off-roading. I wanted to invite all my friends to go with me. I saw it as adventurous. And
Jeremy wanted to get out and do some jeeping.
I remember Marc had kind of taken an interest in it. I think he got to a point where he sold his old Saab and he bought a 4-wheel drive. And so we were really excited and we said, well, let's get a date on the calendar and let's go out 4-wheeling.
And it was a Saturday morning. It's winter time, and I don't remember who decided, but we all got together and we went up jeeping.
Well, it happened in January. It was like a 60-degree day, and so, which is unusual in Utah in January. And so it was sort of ideal to take advantage of the weather and go ride out in the desert, maybe 30, 40 minutes away. Invited as many people as wanted to go and figured we'd go out and ride motorcycles, jeep around. And
I was never really into the 4-wheeling, but on Friday afternoon, after school, he pulled me aside and said, you have to promise that you will be there. And so I did. I promised I would be there to go 4-wheeling the next morning. I made a promise to him that I didn't keep.
Leading up to the day of the 4-wheeling, we were installing a new stereo in my car, and we stayed up until like 3 in the morning. And I remember looking at the time, I was like, crap, dude, it's like 3 in the morning. We got to be leaving at like 7 in the morning.
I had a Blazer, like a full-size Chevy Blazer, and then Adam Longmore had his CJ5, I think it was.
It's an old Jeep. There were no seatbelts in the back. Soft top, yep. 76, it's an older Jeep. Just a fun vehicle. but it never even crossed my mind that someone might die from that.
You know, when you move somewhere new, you sort of look for a place to fit in, I guess. And you guys always had definitely a tight group of friends. And I remember gravitating towards Marc as just, we had a lot in common.
That group of boys were always together and they had their own like inside jokes. It almost felt like when we were with them that we were at an outside party to something really cool happening.
Marc was he was an extrovert. He liked to go out and do things. He liked girls. Like dating. You know, he was always itching to get out and do something. Of course, he was big into soccer, and I was too, so we had a common, you know, interest in the sports.
He was someone who was easy to talk to. He was always really fun to be around.
We really weren't that close with Marc for years in high school, and then in our senior year, that's when we formed this really tight friendship, you know?
So I grew up on the other side of Murray, so it wasn't until my senior year that I really got to know him. You know, he was a great person.
With those qualities that he possessed, he had a lot of friends.
One of the most friendly people that you'd meet. I always thought he was really cool because one, he was really good at soccer. Two, he was always into cool stereo stuff.
He was very methodical. Everything he wanted to do it perfect. When he was really little, he decided he wanted to play the flute.
The person behind us used to sit on his deck and listen to
Marc practice.
He loved it.
He wanted to quit many times in high school. And I said, if you quit that, you have to quit soccer.
I don't remember actually meeting Marc. He was just part of the group of friends, and there was a bunch of us. We became really close quickly.
For me, I had a lot of personal issues with my parents at home, and so to go to Marc's house was a home away from home.
Peter was one of those people that was different than the run-of-the-mill teenager. It's hard for me to explain. But a lot of people just thought, he's just a weird dude. That was okay with Marc. It was okay to be a weird dude.
Marc was great for Peter. Marc was just pretty chill about life, and when Peter did stuff, he'd laugh or he'd make fun of him, but then he was fiercely loyal when someone outside would attack us, and he would have our back immediately.
Meet at Marc's on Saturday morning, and that morning, only a handful of us showed up.
Thinking back on it, I wonder if it was a promise I knew I wasn't going to keep.
I remember getting there and actually being kind of surprised because the first thing he said was he wasn't going to bring his truck.
I thought that he was going to take his car, but then, you know, it just was all by accident. Richard had time that morning and started changing the oil. And so they ended up taking Adam's car.
We were all seniors in high school.
My brother, Marc, came with me.
And we were trying to decide who was going to get into what vehicle and where and how it was going to work.
So in mine was, I think, Marc Lund and then my brother Nick. And I think that was it in my vehicle. I think all the girls were with Glen, as I recall.
We met at Marc's house, and for some reason, there was a few girls that were part of our group. They all ended up in my car. But it was weird, honestly. Just the dynamic of having every girl in my car together was strange.
I was gonna go in the back of the Jeep, and right at the last second, Marc was like, no, you go with the other girls, and I'll go here.
So me and my friend Dax Reed, he was 3-4 years older than us probably. So I was in the driver's seat, Dax was in the passenger seat, and then Pete and Marc were in the back of my vehicle.
I believe we were 3 vehicles is what it finally came out to when we were heading out. The one I was in and the one that was just behind me was me and Adam.
We all kind of didn't stick together. You know, the caravan kind of broke apart. And so we pulled off to the side to like wait.
You know, it was before the days of cell phones. We couldn't coordinate back together. So we'd pulled off in this little place I knew of, play around for a little bit while we waited for the other group to catch up to us.
We did get sidetracked on the freeway. I don't remember how, but we got separated from the group. I had gone to where I thought we were going to meet, and nobody showed up. So we looked around for a few hours to see where people could be, and when we couldn't find anybody, we just turned around and went back.
I think I followed Jer because he knew where to go, and we got out there, and we hadn't done too much. We, went on a couple little hills and
just decided to just play around on some hills that I knew of. They were really steep, loose rock, actually quite dangerous in retrospect. And I'd been four-wheeling up them. I'd been up and down them half a dozen times. And this one particular hill, I could never make it up. It was just too steep. You know, having another person with a Jeep, I thought, well, gee, that, you know, maybe that thing will outdo it. Let's go try it.
I remember Jared pointing up this hill and wanted to go up it, and I remember thinking, that hill's kind of steep. But if Jared has confidence in me, I guess I'll go.
It was very long and steep, and then there was a small bench, and then it went back up again. So we had gotten up the first one, and once we were on the bench, I tried first of all to go all the way up to the top. Couldn't make it, put it in reverse, back down, and then pulled off a little bit so I could watch Adam try.
That was kind of the intent of this hill, was just an endurance, just to see how far up you could get, and then you'd just come back.
I didn't think long about it. I thought, yeah, I don't know if this is such a good idea, but let's go.
We just punched it and started going up the mountain. From what I recall, there was a lot of loose gravel on this hill, and it was really steep.
We were up halfway maybe, and I started bouncing around a little bit, but I felt like I had good control of the Jeep.
I remember, you know, just filling the back end of the Jeep, fishtailing, and we eventually got to the point where it was just slipping too much.
It started losing traction, and I saw that he started to kind of turn sideways to the right. I kept thinking as I was watching, I was just like, no, stop.
And then all of a sudden we tipped, and then we just kept rolling and rolling, side over side, and
my fear was that this was gonna not stop rolling until it made all the way to the bottom of the hill. And on this hill, he stopped right on the edge of where it went down much further. Any more momentum, and that thing would have just gone all the way down the hill. Had that gone further, I don't think anybody would have survived.
Thursday night, leading up to that weekend, Mark and I decided to go and ask our dates to senior ball, which was coming up. So we asked Shannon Chapman for Mark, a girl that I didn't know, but he had gotten to know her through chemistry class. And he thought she was pretty dang cute and really excited to take her. And I have a very distinct memory of sitting in the car, and then come to find out later that was our last real moment together.
What's really interesting, and I don't know if anybody's mentioned this before, but it was the summer before our senior year. We were in Lake Powell. We were on top of the houseboat and talking about our futures and what we were going to do. And Mark made a comment that he didn't really feel like he had to plan his life because he didn't think he would be there. It gets emotional when I talk about it. You know, as a kid, I was like, Mark, come on, that's dumb. Nobody knows when they're going to die. And he's like, no, I'm serious. I have a feeling. You know, of course, we just talked it out and sort of forgot about it. Didn't really think much of it, but when it happened, when he died, that was on my mind. Like, oh my gosh, he's right. Whatever he was supposed to do here, you know, his passing really affected so many different people in so many different ways, that maybe that really was it.
So I'm a young father with 3 young sons, and with my wife, we had recently given motorcycles for each of us to go out there and do something to do together as a family. And this was our first outing. We were having a good time. It was family together, heading out to do something which I believed was important.
I remember just kind of in shock that what had just happened had happened, and
we all jumped out. Ran over to the truck. I think I was the first to get there, and I ripped the tops open, and we started pulling people out.
So I only remember like the first half a roll. And I remember hearing it, but I don't remember visually seeing anything.
Peter was first to come out. He was bloody around his head, and he was obviously injured.
I remember looking around, and my head was ringing really bad, and
I saw a leg sticking up from underneath the truck.
And all of a sudden I heard one of the guys, just started yelling, Mark, Mark.
Even when he said Mark, it didn't register in my brain.
And I just remember thinking, holy smokes, this is not good. And then I remember Jeremy next to me, and it was the two of us really that were kind of over Mark, looking at him and just being scared.
just in my incoherentness, I remember just turning and just running toward the street, you know.
I took off down the long hill to the road to try and get help. And turns out that Marc, maughan, and Nick, they had already decided that they were heading to get help. And they were able to flag down a motorist passing by.
I remember somebody running to the road, flagging their hands, and I'm thinking, somebody's in trouble, and we have to stop.
And he had some motorcycles with him, and I got down there and I gave him the news that Marc was trapped under there.
There were some others coming down, one that seemed injured himself. I know that he got into the back of our car with help.
I was just laying there, and I just remember I was still just disoriented, trying to figure out where I was, what I was doing, and
we just simply moved. I think we grabbed a first aid kit and a blanket, and we took a motorcycle off of the trailer. All this probably happened in a minute or two, and then we were off.
Him and I jumped on it, and we drove back up to the top of the hill. That's where I could see that he was pinned between the roll bar and the soft top.
I remember finding Marc and feeling like there was nothing we could do.
What I saw was heartbreaking.
Only a few weeks prior to this, Marc and I shared a health class together, and they had brought in the CPR dummies, and we did CPR training. I was a high school student, I was kind of goofing off a little bit, and Marc kind of rebuked me and said, "No, I want to learn this. Be quiet." Kind of shut me up. And so that memory immediately flooded my mind when I was sitting there with him, and I just thought of the irony of the fact that he really wanted to know how to save somebody's life, and here I was with the opportunity to save his. And I decided not to do CPR, but I didn't see that it would have a chance of saving his life.
As we got on the bike and we headed up the trail, I was asked.
I was on the back of his motorcycle holding on to him, and I asked him some specific questions. I said,
I think it came out something like, I need to ask you, are you LDS?
He said, I am. I said, can you give a blessing?
I don't even know that I answered the question, but I don't know that it needed an answer. There becomes a moment in time that it really isn't your words.
Some of the words he said were that despite this tragedy, that a lot of your friends will grow tighter and stronger because of it.
I felt like Marc was the one at peace, and that those that needed the help right now were the friends. Back in the context of a young father taking his 3 boys out into the desert for a first day of a new adventure, and always thinking of what are your boys going to become and what are the risks that they're going to take. So I saw in each of these young men kind of my future sons.
The vehicle was on its side on the edge of a precipice going down, and his body was such that if it weren't there, it might have been just a little amount it would have taken for it to go the rest of the way down. In some sense, his body is kind of what maybe prevented further tragedy from occurring.
If he somehow got in front of Peter or moved Peter or, sacrificed himself, knowing his character, I would not hesitate at all saying that very well could be the case.
I remember waking up abruptly. That morning I just went about doing whatever I was doing and knew I missed it.
We didn't really know anything was wrong at the time. I had no idea what had happened, and so we just assumed that they got sidetracked and went somewhere else, and then we didn't communicate, so.
As hard as it was to be there and not be there, I do look at it as a blessing.
I think many of us have commented that maybe it was a really good thing that the car full of the girls weren't on the site at that time.
I was at school. Right at the time that happened, my calculator wouldn't work. Those funny calculators that they have in college. And Marc had been working with me, trying to teach me how to do this. So I literally got up out of class, went to the phone, and called him. And then I remembered, oh, he's on the mountain.
it seemed like I heard the ambulance showing up within minutes. We're out in the middle of nowhere, and that thing's already here. They got Marc on his way to the hospital, picked me up put me on the gurney, threw me in the ambulance.
I drove myself to the hospital. We got back in my Jeep and we just drove very quietly to the hospital.
We got to the hospital. Of course, you know, they stitched me up and bandaged me. I had a bunch of cuts. My ear was like halfway ripped off, hanging, just dangling. My head was like swollen, I think, out to here or something like that.
The adrenaline rush is gone, and then now you're left to process the horrible things that happen when a parent needs to be told that their child is dead.
Cops called me, you know, and I actually, for some reason, I knew what happened.
So I didn't need anyone to tell me that he had passed, you know, in that accident. I already knew it.
They had us all sitting in a room and could hear in the next room the talking as they broke the news that Marc had died.
And I remember him trying to tell me this and tell me, I just get to the point. He's dead. And that's the way it was.
I remember I went downstairs to my room and I started getting ready, and then my dad came down. He said there was an accident. Marc and Peter were in the accident, and Marc has died. Time stands still, and I remember just then sinking down and onto the bathroom floor against the wall, just sliding down, and just crying to myself.
So I still didn't know. Then I came home and there was a note on the table that said, "We've gone to the hospital." And then I thought, oh no, what's happened? And I started calling hospitals and nobody had him checked in. But I knew as soon as I couldn't find his name anywhere, I thought, okay. After I had been crying for quite a bit, I heard a voice say, "Be still and know that I'm God." And that was enough. Okay, it's not my choice. He's not mine, he's yours.
The next thing I remember after the whole accident was sitting with Marc's parents at the hospital.
I was fully anticipating Richard would come in and yell at us for being so stupid. He didn't. He came into the room, and the first thing he did was open his arms and gave us all a big hug.
That was a hard moment. They just asked how I was doing and make sure I was okay. And
the fact that he just got the worst news any parents can ever get, and then his reaction was one of love, speaks volumes about him and his whole family. But I also remember my thoughts immediately starting to turn to Adam, to realizing that he being the driver is probably taking this on himself a lot worse than he should.
Yeah, because, I mean, he's gone. And I was the driver. If anyone's to blame, I'm to blame. What would the past 25 years be like? How would they be different if he was here? Marc's parents were just so loving and so non-judgmental. I've never felt 1 ounce of hard feelings from them at all, which I think in the whole experience of it all was just tremendously needed on my end.
Well, I remember pulling into the neighborhood, Marc's neighborhood again, but we drove around the area to where Scott Hall lived.
At some point, my dad said, you need to be the one to start telling people. And for your closest friends, it's probably better they hear it from you. So I'm just making phone calls on the cordless phone, and that's when I saw Glenn.
We just got out of the car thinking nothing was wrong. But I remember making kind of a smart-ass comment, you know, about like getting lost or, you know, way to show up or something.
And he said, we never found them. He said, well, Marc, they got in an accident, Marc died.
Then I was just told the news and it was like somebody punched you in the gut.
My little brother's name was Marc and he was on the same trip. And I said, Marc who, Marc who? I said it over and over. Either way, it would have shattered my world.
You certainly don't expect to have your, you know, one of your best friends killed.
I don't know why, but I was thinking I gotta hug him at this point.
It just kind of, like I just shut down and just let it process. So I did that for a while, and for a while after the fact as well. I mean, like weeks and weeks.
I don't recall even telling people to come over. I just think people started coming over. organically just showing up at my house.
As a teenager, you want to be with your friends in those times of need. And so I remember the first person I ran into was Glenn. He came running up to me. It was the first time I talked to him about everything, and he just gave me a hug.
Especially as a dumb high school kid, like, you would never cry in public, but this was a reason to break, to allow yourself to break down and do what you need to recover. And I do know that we hugged a lot and cried a lot. Nobody was judging you if you did. And
the last person I had to break the news to, the girl that Marc had asked on Thursday night. So I just said, you know what, Shannon, I was the one that helped Marc ask you, and he went as four-wheeling this morning and he was killed. And I remember when she showed up and we hugged, and then she was just immediately part of the group. I counted 60 heads of high schoolers crammed throughout our kitchen and kind of dining area. My dad, at one point, he said, I think we should have a prayer. Most of us, or a lot of us, felt like we probably could use some higher power. So he was about to say the prayer, and Nate Anderson, who was standing, just knelt down on the floor. It scattered in the entire room and spilling over toward the front door. Everyone was kneeling down. I thought it was symbolic of all of us as a group of friends coming together, pleading for hope and peace and any type of supplication from a higher power, from a loving God who, at that time in our lives, we probably never needed more.
the day of, I remember really vividly, but I don't remember the week of.
Yeah, I went home, and I'd kind of had already come to terms with the fact that Marc had died and this day just sucked.
We did this mass walk over to see Peter first. Saw Peter for the first time. I recall him coming down the stairs and seeing his ear and just in his head. That was the first instance of it being real.
I just remember laying on my couch and I had a blanket on me, and I remember just having my mom bring a mirror and looking at myself in the mirror, and I was like, whew, I don't look too hot right now,
We hung out there for a little bit, but then we walked over to the Simon's house. I still remember Richard holding the door open as just tons of people came in, and all of a sudden this massive bodies in there.
People just started coming, and this is where they wanted to be. I've never felt that much support in my entire life. It was amazing, and I don't know that we said a lot that day when you came. I think we just all felt a lot.
It must have been Martin Luther King weekend because we didn't have school Monday.
We wanted to do something, right? We needed to do
Just
something. We could put up something that would be a reminder or a memorial of some kind that would at least give people the ability to see his face as they walk by.
So I got a few things together, a BYU hat that he had given me.
We all went out and we all had our indoor soccer shoes, and we all drew all over them in memory of Marc and stuff like that.
But I remember going over there at Marie High School and set up that memorial.
I had a hard time holding the emotions back when I saw that memorial, because that's like the first time I'd seen pictures and memories and things right in front of you.
It was kind of a big deal for the school in general, right? Like, it's not often that somebody, popular senior like Marc dies. But I do remember very clearly that at one point the school decided it was time to take it down. And boy, were we not happy about that.
I remember the weather also held out very, very nicely. So it was very warm and sunny until his funeral. So many people and so many different people that I didn't expect to be affected or to be present were there. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of people. Everybody just really came together. And
someone played the flute, played canon in D. It was amazing. Go to the cemetery after. It was a blizzard. It was amazingly cold. But then I remember that it was a healing moment back at a luncheon after at the church. I thought everyone had started kind of doing better.
Of course, you're still sad, but I remember I felt like I was processing it better. I remember being in a kind of light mood with people, kind of accepted what had occurred.
You lost one of your members, and one of your friends, and kind of bonded us more together.
Our little group of friends started just pulling everybody else in, and it just kind of grew and grew to the point where those boundary lines between cliques just evaporated and just weren't They just didn't matter anymore.
Every day the rest of my senior year, I looked forward to going because I felt like I could walk down the school hallway and be in any class and be comfortable with really anybody. It was an amazing transition that he helped bring us together, where it wasn't as important to have, you know, hierarchies of who's cooler and what group you're in and those kind of things.
We had planned a ski trip on Friday, and we skied Solitude, and it had like 3 feet of powder fall overnight, and we skied all day, and the best powder I've ever had. At the time, I felt like, you know, he was shining down on us, and I mean, to this day, and I ski a lot, it was the best ski day I've ever can remember.
Somewhere along the way, I read some things. I don't know where it was, a memorial or something. It was apparent to me that this was a unique individual. I felt compelled from a parent's perspective to another parent's perspective to share what I felt that day. And I never met them. And I still haven't met Marc's parents. It wasn't for them, it was for me.
He wrote us a letter that explained that experience. And that was amazing. That was so comforting for him to do that. He was so impressed with the kids there that were so respectful.
So yeah, SSOP, it's a very elite group. I remember that I wanted to know for a long time. People didn't tell me. I wasn't part of the group yet, but I am now part of the group.
So we had a logo, and one of us came up with this great idea of having our little secret society, you know, only we knew about, our little inside, you know, clique, inside joke thing. And I don't know, it was kind of nice that it was like our circle of friends had our own little thing, you know.
I remember finally knowing what it was. I'm like, yes, I know what it means. And I'm never gonna tell anybody what it means.
I'm not telling you. I was sworn to secrecy. It was a connection.
It was not anything but a connection to each other in a way that would let you be who you were.
I don't know, it could have been something that really broke us, but everyone had to grow up, we had to experience these things, and we became who we needed to be for the rest of our lives.
Any kind of significant event has the potential to influence people in a lot of different ways. This is another big staple in holding you firm to what you believe.
I think it shaped a lot of my personality. I think that I'm a lot more easygoing and mentally stable because of Marc.
You know, I'm surprised at how much impact he's had on me in only knowing him less than 3 years. But I feel like he had that impact on lots of people. I know there was a hand in everything.
It was a help to me to be able to believe that, hey, yeah, Marc died, but he's going to be again. And I think that was kind of the beginning of a testimony for me. So for me, it's come slowly over a period of time.
I got through that with Marc. I've understood so much more about the faith that can get you through those types of things. And so it helps to take that edge off with faith overcoming fear for sure. Marc made a sacrifice. Richard and Colleen made a sacrifice. And a lot of us made a sacrifice, but for perhaps a greater good of a spirituality and a closeness and an understanding for so many people for lifelong and beyond.
I think that everything we do in life, I hope we learn from, and I hope it affects what we do tomorrow. We all take everything that we hopefully learn in this life and hopefully better ourselves and better those that are around us.
You know, I don't think we'll ever know what we were supposed to learn from that or what would have been different had it not, you know, had he not passed away. But I feel like there's lessons that we're still learning and things that my life has been shaped definitely from it.
Here we are 20 some odd years later, knowing that if any one of us ever had a need or anything, that we could call for help and all of our friends would be there for us immediately.
I look at all of you guys now, and I couldn't want more for you than what you are. Every one of you are amazing parents, you have amazing families, and worked really hard to do the best be the best you can be. And I think, oh, there's nothing better. It had nothing to do with me, but there's nothing better than that. When I look at that group of friends, I think, how were we so blessed that this is the group that we were surrounded by.
Oh, your life taken by the stars, and I know that you haven't gone far. Only been gone for a couple of days, and I don't know what else to say. But hey, you may be gone, you left our world. You may have left all of the girls, and even though you're gone, it won't be too long till I'll be with you, and I'll be singing this song that goes, hey my friend, where have you been? We missed you so much, but now you're back again. We never forgot you, didn't know what to do, but you're here with me and it's good to see you. I said you're here with me and it's good to see you. Didn't deserve, too young to be taken away. This is what happened, so what can I say? About a young boy, didn't get a chance to live. You had so much to share, had so much to give. I always took you for granted, now you're gone. But I know that we'll be back together before long. We never forget all the love that you bring, and soon I'll be there. Together we'll sing. Hey my friend, where have you been? I missed you so much, but now you're back again. We never forgot you, didn't know what to do, but you're here with me and it's good to see you. I said you're here with me and it's good to see you. It's been 25 years since you left this place, and it seems like only yesterday since I last saw your face. Been growing up without you and it hasn't been the same. When I see you again, I'll be calling your name and singing, hey my friend.